We've got two people that help to run Hellbent Games. We're going to find out all about this studio that is in its 13th year in the Vancouver area. A couple of veterans are joining us now. Zoe Flower, you may recognize from Electric Playground. Let's welcome her to the stage. Come on out, Zoe. And Chris Mair, who started Hellbent Games. Hello, how are you? Oh, good to see you. Good to see you. You get one too, my friend. Yes. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, that's some feedback right there. Zoe is back on EP. How many years ago were you on EP?
Oh my goodness, do we have to count?
I know. I don't know. I think we do have to count. That's the deal now.
Late 90s?
Late 90s. Yes. And the way that we met each other, just so everybody knows, is that Zoe and her husband Drew ran an internet cafe, which is not unlike the space that we're in right now.
I was going to say, what's an internet cafe?
I know. Well,
It was a network gaming center.
Okay,
network gaming?
much cooler. And those things are around still. You can still walk into network gaming centers, but it was in Yaletown.
Cool as Blink, though.
Yeah, Blink. Yeah, that's right. It was called Blink, and it was in a very cool part of Vancouver, and we got to start the show out of there. And you graciously loaned us, I don't even know, did we pay you guys?
God, no.
We didn't pay you guys, it's amazing. How did we do that?
Yeah,
Well, so we launched the show and we were friends, but you were always around the show and you were always helpful with the show. And then in the second season we said, would you be on the show?
That's right.
And then we started to go to all kinds of events together and travel, and then you were part of the show for a bunch of years before you went and started your own stuff, and you were making your own TV shows.
Yeah, that's right. It was a crazy time. It's amazing. Like, I guess you taught me how to make TV, and off I went.
And it didn't take too long before you took all of the relationships that you had in the video game world, and you found yourself into making video games. Was Chris's company, was Hellbent the first game company that you signed up with?
There's a
No?
weird story around that.
Yeah. To be.
Yeah.
We had lunch one day and we talked about her coming into games because she was really interested in it.
Yes.
And I had an open house at Slant 6, and I was talking to Brian Falcon there, and he's like, oh, said Zoe's interested in getting into games, so that's awesome. And the next day, he hired her.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
going to hire her
that's
for my
right, you
place.
worked at Slant 6,
so
yes.
she worked there. She called me up and thanked me for the job. Like, and I was kind of a weird one, so it was years later when I called her in for coffee at our studio.
We'd always wanted to work together. We
Right.
have a very sort of similar approach to making games and a little bit of a hive mind. I
Well,
would
and
say.
back when you guys were filming EP and she had Blink,
Yep.
I worked at Radical a couple doors down from there, so I mean, we've known each other for a long time.
Yaletown was
Yeah.
a real hub for a lot of this stuff,
That was
right?
amazing.
It was
at that
magical
time,
back
yeah.
then.
It was, because Relic was down there, and
Yeah, Alex.
and Slant 6 had a space down there, and
They started
Rockstar.
just slowly after that. I mean, we left and made Barking Dog right after that.
Yeah.
And then Black Box started right after that. It was really everything expanded from like EA and Radical to like everything it is today, which
Yeah.
is pretty crazy.
It has changed a lot in this city, though, hasn't it, for
Yeah.
making games, right?
Yeah,
Like
it
it's
sure has.
there's a huge mobile industry, and we're starting to see companies kind of self-publish and get into their own stuff. But you guys have stayed with mostly console.
Well, we did
development?
We did a lot of handheld stuff with Lego for a lot of years,
Yeah.
which was different for us because we came from doing PlayStation and Xbox. And then-
Right.
So we loved the Lego brand, and we knew the guys at Traveler's Tales, and they were amazing. They basically just said, "Can you make games for us?" And they just gave us a rough idea and said, "Go," and we just made the games. They didn't step in, and we made our own designs, and it was really great.
That's
We
awesome.
did that for almost 10 years, though, so it was time for us to really break out and start indie developing, making our own concepts, because we had 1,000 ideas. We just wanted to start doing stuff. So.
That's
and
so
Zoe
cool.
really pushed for that. So
That's what I'm starting to understand here, which is great. You
I'm pushy, you know.
Well, you have an ambition. You want to leave your mark on some
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Definitely. Well, I mean, it was a great opportunity, and when I got to, when Chris had called me, I was not working in games at the time, and he had an idea that he wanted to run by me, and he said, "Can you just come for a coffee?" And I stayed for the whole day, and then stayed for 6.5 years.
she's never left
so.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Please
was
stay long.
that was a Lego project that he always felt like he could design any game, and then Lego came to him and said, we want to make a game around the Lego Friends brand, which is a girls centric brand, and he was like, who do I know who makes games, who knows girls?
I wanted to make it the best, most honest experience we could. And,
Yeah.
And I knew she had girls, so I had boys, and I just wanted to make sure we really approached it from all angles. And when I pulled her into the office and we started talking. I pulled out one of the Lego sets and she just like started laughing because she bought the exact same set.
Yeah, the night before.
The night before.
Oh my
for
God,
her daughter.
okay.
So,
For
yeah.
my daughter, which I built that night.
That's the way it always works, right?
They need help. We always have to help with the building.
So you guys started working with Warner Brothers and TT. That was a big part of the push of your company. What was that experience like for you?
It was amazing. Jonathan Smith, who was running TT Publishing, we really didn't do much with Warner Brothers in North America. A little bit of marketing at the end, but everything was through their actual Traveler's Tales offices over in the UK.
Yep.
And they were just amazing with us. I mean, they sold us right up front. They thought we'd only do one game with them because they don't do many games with people. And then we ended up working for 10 years with them. And they actually wanted us to do more and stuff at the end, but we grew in different directions. But they were amazing. They were really, they funded us well, and they gave us great leeway to just run and build with their Lego products. So it was really fantastic.
Yeah, who
We
knew
got to
that?
visit them too, so that was really
Yeah, they're
quite
amazing
amazing
out
to
there,
get
right?
involved with the brand and
Yeah.
Who knew that video games would be so integral to Lego?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, my kids only really know it through video games now. I mean, we obviously have a ton of sets just because, I got to bring a lot home, but
Research.
And before,
Research.
and before I started Hellbent, I left Rockstar Vancouver and took a break for a little while, and I picked up 2 games, Jack and Daxter,
Yep.
and Lego Star Wars on PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
And that's what I played with my 5-year-old son, who's 18, and he's actually going to VFS now.
Oh my God,
So he's
no
at,
way.
at the video game campus down the street from here. But yeah, he's taking game design here, so
That's amazing.
that's awesome. But I sat down and played with him, and we played Lego Star Wars. And when we played Lego Star Wars, that one was amazing for him because it's just such an amazing game. You don't die and have so many set lives. You just pop right back up and build yourself again.
Yeah.
So he was in love with it. So I contacted Lego because I loved the game with my son, and that's how I ended up working with Lego.
So you
I
reached
reached
out.
out to them. I emailed somebody just guessing.
it's a
an email
crazy
address.
story actually because they should never have met, and they were supposed to
No.
meet for tea in a train station, and there was a problem with the trains, and they called each other and realized they were in the same
Yeah,
station.
Paddington
and
Station in
yeah, it's a
London.
neat
we
story.
end up running into each other by the bear and
You
having
and
coffee.
Jonathan Smith?
Me and Jonathan Smith, yeah.
No
back in the day,
way.
Yeah, so
Well, honestly, that's one of the coolest things about the video game industry. And we know that
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
I mean, we're on Facebook and we all have the same circle of friends that has been a part of this industry for so long. And it is really about those friendships.
And it's a very small industry. I think it's a very big money-making industry, and everything, but it's so small. I mean, how many times do we see you a year and all around the world, right? Every
Yeah.
time we bump into you. So it's amazing that our industry, I mean, that's always our running joke from Vancouver, is we never see anyone from Vancouver in Vancouver.
Right.
We see everyone in San Francisco or Los Angeles.
So I
or
really
wherever,
appreciate you guys getting off your butts and coming down here. This is super cool. But Chris, you always, you sort of come off as a very sort of unassuming person, but you've worked on massive games in your career. You always seem so low-key and everything's chill. But you worked at Rockstar and made Max Payne 3?
When the doors close at our office,
Oh, yeah, it's all-
I just yell at people.
Oh, did
actually,
you?
I didn't
It's
actually
all
work on
that.
Max Payne 3. Max Payne 3 started just after I left. I worked on a bit of Bully.
Okay.
Before that, I worked on a bit helping out with Max Payne 2. And
Okay.
yeah, I was working on another title that wasn't announced that got canceled ultimately later at Rockstar. That a bit after I left, about a year after I left. So.
Okay.
But I did work on Bully. I was one of the
What's
first
that other
employees
little
working on
game? Counter something?
Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike,
was
that's
was a long time ago. My kids find me, I'm like kind of mildly internet famous because there's a Wikipedia page on me about Counter-Strike. So
That's so amazing.
I think that's pretty fun.
And you worked in, it wasn't Homeworld, but it was...
Homeworld Cataclysm.
Oh, Cataclysm,
so-
yeah.
Relic was just down the door from Radical. When we left, we shared office space with those guys and worked on the first expansion, which became a full sequel, and that was great. Yeah, I was the first designer on that one as well. So.
That's amazing. When did you know this was your life, that this was going to be your career? Because I knew you when I think you were just getting going with a lot
Yeah,
of this
very
stuff.
early when
It was that same
through
time.
Roger
Yeah.
Earl.
Yeah.
So
Didn't you guys fight over an arcade?
No,
Stand-up?
Roger.
Sub-Rock, you and Roger fought over a Sub-Rock at a place.
Oh, did we? Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that how we met?
I think
Yeah,
so.
oh my
yeah.
God, that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
way before EP. Yeah. No,
That sounds like us. A couple of
I knew when I was
nerd fight.
When I was about 8, I wanted to make video games.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I forgot that, and I went to music school and studied music, and then all of a sudden when I moved to Vancouver, Radical was here, and someone said, "Well, you make games at home. Why don't you go to work at Radical?" I'm like, "They make games at
Well, you didn't used to be able to go to school.
Yeah, I
for
know. So
video
Yes.
games.
No, I didn't have this when I was a kid. Yeah, you had to
And that, I
learn
mean,
on the
that-
streets.
That was kind of the way in for EP as well, because I don't feel like we cracked it on television, and we also got into the video game industry, and I don't think you could do that quite as easily today.
No.
You know,
But there's lots of avenues now to get into.
yeah,
the game
everybody's a broadcaster, and everybody has a way
Yeah.
to communicate,
I mean,
and you
like-
can make them now
Like
too.
my son can actually go to school and study and learn all these things.
I went to
and-
VFS.
That's right, you did.
Yeah.
I did.
Did you go to this building?
I went to DigiPen and then did the 3D Applied Arts and Animation.
I mean, this show is coming
Then-
off like a big commercial for VFS. We shoot it at VFS, and every second or third person I interview, I went here. It's
But
it's
It's
amazing.
a statement about where we live, though.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
It's, DigiPen's in the States now. But
Yeah.
It was Vancouver Film School to start, and then.
What did you take
and
at
I
VFS?
took, I did classical animation, and then I did soft image. Remember soft image?
Yes.
Pre-Maya.
Yeah. Did you use that in your career ever, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess you
yeah.
used it in all of the design work that you did a lot of your own graphics
Yeah, I did
and
all
stuff too.
of the graphics and
Yeah.
opening.
You did some of our early
animations.
logos.
I did. I know.
Yeah.
I'm looking around.
Yeah.
It's like
There's probably on the background up
That
here.
was
That's
me.
yours
That
right
was
there.
me.
That's
No.
amazing. Yeah. And actually, I've thanked you already before, but I have to thank you because between season 2 and 3, I didn't know if we were going to get more money. And so I had to get a job because I was running out of money, and I took a job with Black Box Games, which was a great company, and I was actually working on a NASCAR game and was working with a lot of our friends, E-Man,
E-Man who works with us.
yeah. And it was a great gig, and then out of the blue, we got a proposal for a company to sort of acquire the brand and help us kind of launch a new season and build up everything. But during that time, I asked you to kind of man the phones because we were still looking for sponsors and partners, and
that's
you were
right.
kind of like,
Answered phones.
well, you were.
just get that, just like the reception at our.
Well, it wasn't reception though. It was pitching the.
We don't have reception at all.
Yeah. But you were keeping the fires burning on Electric Playground, which was very sweet.
Well, I loved it. I mean, it was
Yeah.
an amazing time, right? Like, I got to do what I wanted to do, and that's why I can make games now, because I got to ask every possible question I wanted to of
Yeah.
every developer out there.
Yeah, she knew she could do
right?
it because she
I
knew
was
all the
just-
hard things.
I knew the end game was to get a job, so a real job.
I saw
You
that a
haven't
lot,
figured
too.
that out yet. but-
Well, I feel like no, I haven't. But I feel like this has been an extraordinary opportunity for me to put people in front of the camera, and I feel very lucky that I get to do that. So that's my privilege, and I feel honestly, I talk about this all the time. I feel like people aren't doing that anymore. People are just sort of ranting, and they're just looking at the camera, telling
Showing
people what
video.
I think, and they'll read something and they'll say, I think this, and I think, but nobody has conversations anymore, and I think that's that's what I
when you
love to
used
do.
Like at Radical Days, come and support all of our products, and because like we were down the corner, so I mean, it made it really easy for you and easy for us. But it was really great for me to see like you interview all the other people in the world and include us in that family. But I do regret kind of the one day at Barking Dog you came in, we were working on global operations and I was so sick and I said, can we move this to another day? And you're like, nope, show's got to run. And I have
show
a
must
video,
go
you sent
on.
me a VHS tape of it. I've never
did I
watched it
do?
again, but I was on video, I could barely stay standing. And you propped me up with something and I said, just get through 10 minutes and we're done. So yeah. Can burn that footage if you ever find that footage, yeah.
Oh man, I can remember E3s because we all used to get so drunk and somehow do the work at E3. and
Look at me when you
yeah,
said that.
all of us at GDC, we were young and stupid, but we would get so drunk. But everybody, the whole business.
Oh, yeah, no.
So everybody just reeked of alcohol. But I remember we went to go and visit. I don't know if you were there that day, but there was some test drive game or something. But the guy that was supposed to be our interview subject was totally passed out under the table, and they had to kick him to wake him up. And then he got up and did the interview, and I think he went and puked afterwards. But the early days of game making.
yeah.
Take away that magical.
I mean, you have some footage there I'm sure I never want to see again. I have to be nice to you.
We used
Yeah.
to take cameras to the parties. It was crazy.
That's when you asked us to do this, so I said, well, we have to do it because Vic's got so
I've
much
got
footage of me.
blackmail on
We
everybody.
snuck
yes.
into that Foo Fighters concert using the camera with no tape in it. We were out of tape.
Oh, yeah.
Tape, out of tape.
Out of tape.
How old are we?
How old am I?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. We did that a lot.
Yeah, we
would
did.
just put the camera on, hold the
It's
microphone, and
different
just
now.
walk right through.
Now it's just a phone. It's,
Yeah,
it's
no,
a little
every-
bit different.
Yeah.
Everyone's a cameraman.
They're ready for us.
Yeah.
How do you sort of reconcile the TV world and the game world? How are they similar or different for you?
Well, production applies in both cases, right? You're always on a deadline, a budget, so I mean that was a huge part of how I ended up in games was being able to recognize a lot of that. And the same with like the creative side, just like in terms of coming up with a bigger picture vision and being able to sell that through to just a publisher and a team at the same time.
Yep.
So I think those things cross both platforms, but games is a lot harder, a lot more challenging.
When I worked in games, I felt, especially because with the television, you're kind of shipping stuff all the time. There's this constant momentum, and it's like, okay, that's done. What do we do now? With games, you can't really operate like that. You have to have.
Yes, even when you want to.
Yeah, you have to have
there's
a lot of patience.
There's always kind of 3 days in games. Like there's the day you announce a game.
Yeah.
So for a long time you're working like covertly, and your family's saying, "What are you working on?" I can't tell you. Then one day you get that day. It's great. You announce it. Well, the day you sign the project is a really good day.
Yeah.
Then the day you announce it, and then the day that whole time till you release it, your whole family's going, "What are you working on now?" It's the same thing we're working on before.
Yeah.
And then finally there's that one day
Yeah.
you release it. But yeah, it's a very long, drawn-out process where you guys work on such a crazy rate of just turnover.
But having said that, because I've worked on development where it's long and you work on the same thing and it's, you're just sort of working on something over a long period of time. But in the current stuff that we're working on, it's so iterative and quick. So it really does have that feeling to it. It's exciting and you can play it. It's been playable from almost day one.
That's
so
awesome.
we're doing a lot where we get to just try things, and it's pretty exciting.
That's part of the new sort of process of development and sort of embracing established engines, and there's a lot of sort of middleware and a lot of work. I don't mean to paint a picture of it being easy, because I know you take all of that in, but
easier in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like.
Oh, it's
If
never
we have
been
to develop
easier,
the
I don't
tech
think.
and develop the game at the same time, those are two different disciplines. And,
which
and
every company used to do, right?
Yeah.
So you watch EP every week, and we'd go visit 5 studios in a show or whatever. Every one of those studios was making their own engine and trying to figure out how to crack the nut.
And between games, you'd pretty much throw away all of that and build it again.
Yeah.
And it was just an amazing amount of independent learning and process going on all the time. And now those engines, they really take away a lot of that risk, and they really make it easier for us to jump in. Like with our current game, which isn't announced yet, we were up and running a multiplayer game within about 3 or 4 weeks after we started working.
Unreal.
And
Right.
it's been working every day since, and we play our game every day since.
And our game before that was Unity, so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was
they're both-
Wick that was
Yeah,
the
Wick was
previous
on
one.
Unity, yeah.
And
It's been a while since we've released something. Yeah.
So tell me about Wick, because I want people to kind of take a little deep dive into Hellbent, because some of this stuff was more sort of for kids, and we
Yeah.
have a lot of viewers that have grown up with the show that have kids, so they're going to be interested in taking
Well, we
a look
wanted
at
to make a
some of
game
the
that matched Hellbent, the name, because it always confused people.
Right, yeah, you're working on
Lego games, yeah, sold in
Yeah,
Walmart.
and I mean, your kids were grown at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I shift the company according to what my kids want to play.
just to be cool with our
They
kids.
wanted a horror
that's the
game, so
goal,
yeah.
so.
No, we decided to do a little test. We knew we wanted to jump from doing a bunch of the work for hire style work to doing our own independent concept stuff where we come up with our own IPs and things like that. And with this one, we just had a brainstorming session and said, okay, we had like three people to work on a game. Like, what could we come up with?
Yeah, we were in between, it is in development. You have a bunch of people who aren't necessarily fully tasked, right? Because they're waiting for something to happen in another discipline. And so we sat down and said, we've got, this group, and we don't really have a lot of artists available right now. What could we do? And what would we like to, we wanted to try out Steam because we had another product we were working on, another indie game. And we thought, well, we should put something out onto Steam just to see how this feels. And
test everything out.
Test out the system. And so we had these sort of parameters as designers, and we thought, what's popular on Steam? And Chris is a huge horror fan.
Right.
And I mean, I love survival horror as well. And so we knew what genre we wanted to do.
She loves it. She
and
loves
to hate it.
Loves
Yeah.
hating it. Yeah, she's
And,
really
there's-
creepy at writing it, so it's.
Yeah, that was a surprise. From Lego
We
to
had to dial it way
horror.
back from what she
Yeah.
wanted to have in the
Really?
game. Oh yeah.
Dark.
Yeah, dark.
Give me an
It's
example.
dark.
No.
Well, she's always doing like deep dive research on
nice,
stuff.
see?
So some of the stuff she finds, like we had a game about Wick's a game about
It's a ghost
urban legend about
stories.
ghost stories about kids in a forest, and you have to try to survive the night with a really cheap dollar store candle that burns down really quickly, and you have to find a new one and light it all the time,
okay, cool.
or else you're in the dark. And when you're in the dark, these kid ghosts attack you way faster. And some of the pictures of kids and puppets and things that she would dig up off the internet.
Oh no! Don't do that.
We are
No,
we are
oh
on
my
so
goodness.
many lists, I'm sure, for the stuff we research
Yeah,
at work.
Google
Yeah.
is just terrified of me at this point. It doesn't know what to put into
Oh my
my.
God.
But it turned into some really amazing lore that we breadcrumbed through the game, and then the audience for that game has been amazing. They still talk to us all the time.
We
and
really
they,
wanted to make something that that would have an audience with YouTube and Twitch, and
They like the jump scares.
we knew that that was going to be accessible and that that was something that would stream well, and so that's what we were trying to do research on, but we didn't realize how much we'd fall in love with being so close to our audience, right?
Yeah.
Like from a narrative perspective, that we could sort of dream up this ridiculous breadcrumb mystery, and not everything was answered.
A lot of it wasn't
And
answered,
it's
just very
incredible
shallow,
to
but we had
watch.
ideas what everything was.
I thought, I'd written enough for launch to be like, oh, that's probably like a good 20 hours of sleuthing through the game, and it'd be like 18 minutes in, and the internet solved everything, and we're sitting there writing.
We hit a
Yeah.
we hit a game, we hit a little game inside of our game.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, it'll take months for someone to solve the mystery and get there. And one streamer went on live and sat down for like 8 hours straight.
Oh, that's amazing.
Aaron say what? He sat down and just said, I'm going to figure this out live right now. So we jumped onto his live stream chatting with him saying,
Slow down.
slow down, we're trying to take him other directions.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But ultimately he did crack it that day, and it was pretty amazing seeing, because there were
Some
like
amazing
400 or 500
moments,
people all
yeah.
yelling how much they thought it was amazing online, which was
Yeah,
a
and
small
that
number
really
at the
just
time,
got
but
us
it was pretty
hooked
cool. So.
on developing something that would have that same
Yeah.
resonance, where we could be with our audience every day and
That's awesome.
watching them experience it.
Speaking of streaming, I want to give you guys the opportunity, if you've got any questions for Zoe and Chris, go ahead and ask them. Just do me a favor and put it into all caps so I can see it on the thing here. Zoe, are you still going to E3, Adrian Leon says?
Oh yeah, no, we've been going every year, so
Tell the
we'll
story
be there.
about you coming behind our shot last year.
I don't know how to do that in a PG way. No, it's not, okay, it's not, that sounds worse than it is.
We always try to see. We never see you in
I
Vancouver, so
know.
we get so excited when we see you down in LA, and you
I
guys
wish
are
you-
outside,
I wish you
out
could run
front,
down.
where I know you're
Yeah.
going to be. Right, you've got your mic, and your lovely cameraman is trying to get that shot at the end of the day.
That'd be
and
Blake Siefkin.
Yeah.
And I just go.
We'd never
I
met
decide
Blake
I'm just
before
going to go
that,
and
yeah.
mess with you and go behind you and do like the hey, and all I hear is this "fuck off."
That's Blake being nice to our
Yeah.
viewers out there.
I wish I had recognized you when I walked in, because I would have just said that right
It
back
was
to you.
honestly, it made our E3. That was our favorite moment of that E3 altogether. We talked about it
We still talk
nonstop.
about
We
it.
still talk about it. It
Blake
was so
takes his job
fantastic.
seriously.
I think it's
Yeah.
We
fantastic.
couldn't do this shit.
He was
without Blake
he was
taking his
protecting
job
the
seriously.
brand.
Honestly,
for
I
sure.
felt terrible, Blake. I'm so sorry. I should know better, having had to try to get that same shot. There was an E3 I remember having to try to stand up on a cement pedestal with
Yes.
because with the big cameras you'd attract a huge crowd,
Oh, yeah,
right?
it was crazy, yeah.
And
Well,
and then
we-
you flub
we
your
didn't have
line.
everybody
and
having a camera back then
Yeah.
either. We were kind of unique for about a minute, and then everybody got their own cameras. But Zoe, we got a great question here from Northern Sequence. Zoe, what's in your pocket?
I don't have pockets.
That was your
These
segment.
are fake pockets.
It was what's in Zoe's
Oh, that's
pocket.
what's
back in the day.
A segment. Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the
What's in your
handheld
pocket?
section. Oh, good memory.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you work on Skate? Rest in peace, Black Box. None of us worked
No,
on Skate.
E-Man did.
But yeah, E-Man did.
E-Man did, yeah.
Yeah.
Who works? Emmanuel Sapitas?
Sapitas,
Yeah, who works at
2D art lead, yeah.
Hellbent, and he also worked at EA, and he worked at Black Box, and he was a
worked at
great
Radical,
friend and
yeah.
Radical, yeah. And I knew him from acting school at the University
Oh,
of
really?
Victoria.
Well,
Yeah.
he has a role in Wick.
Yeah, he does tons of
He's
the
a
voice work in Wick.
drunken
yeah.
trucker,
Yep.
and he is.
I'm
a
the other
priest,
drunken trucker. We're both
Oh,
drunken
okay.
truckers.
and he's also the priest.
He's the priest,
Preacher?
and he's a couple other characters too. Yeah.
Did you get the whole
Doesn't
team?
sing.
to-
Oh yeah, we did all our own voice work.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's your?
Am I? I
You
think,
are. You
I
are.
am.
You're.
Oh, I hate doing voice work because he's so
I think
good. He
you
can do
might
any
be-
voice. Get
you
him,
might
get him
be-
to do.
I'm not going to
his
do anything.
good
I'm not.
voices.
No,
Yeah.
I need to be
Let's
paid,
do
or I don't
powers.
do anything.
Let's do it.
But Zoe, I think was
Michael Caine.
Mary. I think you're the character of Mary.
I think I
Solid
am,
snake.
so-
Solid snake. I'm not David. Yeah. There's no way. Yeah.
That's awesome. Adrian Leon says, thanks, Zoe. You got another thanks, Zoe. And Chris, why are the Oilers still so terrible? That's from Korberg.
Oh,
Is that a buddy?
Animator. They've won 6, 2-2 the last few games. They're doing pretty good, Corey. I mean, they're ahead of Vancouver
There's no
right
sports section on EP Live.
now. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Corey,
What are you doing?
go back to work. Get back to
What are you-
animating.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Jamie's got a question for us.
Oh, live question.
For somebody wanting to get into games, what skills should they be looking for to be successful?
Oh,
Or what would you recommend?
that's a good one. What skills would you guys recommend? I guess everything applies now,
Yeah.
but are there specific things that people should kind of have in their back pocket if they want to make games?
I mean, pick a niche that you're going to be able to focus on, something you really love, that you want to work. You can see yourself working on lots of hours. I mean, we don't actually, at Hellbent, we don't do crazy overtime, but we do a lot of focused work when we're there. So just something if you're really passionate about it, make sure. So if you want to be an artist or a programmer or a designer, like we're both designers, so.
Don't talk shit about the place you just worked. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's amazing.
And the business is so small.
It is.
Right?
Why don't they understand that?
Yeah.
like-
That's
Yeah,
a very good, and you know what? That applies to everything. That's not
Yeah.
just video games.
Because
It's,
every night after
yeah.
work, all of us company owners get together and have
Yeah.
martinis. So we'll swap stories about
that's not true, especially in this city.
I know, but
I
it sounds good.
I know it sounds good, but that's kind of why I wanted to have this space for so long, because I feel like we don't get together enough.
Just so you can see your friends.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah, and you know, come back and hang out with all of that stuff. But I think that's really important. I feel like in San Francisco, you know that too, because we have a lot of mutual friends down there. They have like a monthly get together.
I know.
You know.
We've
We
been
keep talking about
that. We
it.
should
Yeah.
not-
We do
we
more
should
talking
stop
about it.
and do it.
But back to your question, I think find a school and study what you want to do, and then get into. I mean,
If you can't go to school, though, I think
Yeah.
finish something. That's a big one.
Yeah,
like bring
finish.
something in that you've made, especially from a design perspective.
that's the hardest thing I think is finishing anything, even a small project. Just finish it and prove that you can get through it. Everything's easy to start. I can start 1,000 projects, but finishing it's a real proof that you can do something.
Well, this is a good segue into the fact that you guys are growing right now, and you are looking for people. And I noticed that when Capcom Vancouver went down, you had tweeted out to get in touch with you. So if there are any developers
Please do.
or
Yes, we are
aspiring
actively
developers, or
hiring.
are you
Yeah,
looking?
no, we look. I mean, our skill level goes from like E-Man, who's been in the industry as long as we have, to
Yep.
like brand new. We have a
Oh
VFS
wow, we have
programmer
such a
just joined
diverse,
us.
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so happy with our team right now.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
how big is the company?
we're about 30 right now.
30 right now, and we're going to be about 40 by the end of this year. So we have, or maybe more. We're hiring actively a lot right now.
a lot of young people
You've
coming
had-
right out of schools in Vancouver. So we've been hiring a lot of students.
Awesome.
So-
But you've worked with studios that are much bigger than that.
Yeah, I mean, Rockstar Vancouver. I mean, Radical, when I was there, we were 300 at one point. And,
Yeah.
And Rockstar Vancouver, we grew from when I sold Barking Dog to become Rockstar. We grew from 60 when we were acquired to about 120 when I left there.
What's
so.
the magic number from your perspective? I
For
know it's
me-
different for everybody.
For me, it's around 60 because then you know everybody. And I love to know everybody. I don't want to be so massive that I can't know you and your family and know your name and
Yeah.
have something more meaningful than hi to say to everyone every day. So that's really important to me.
I
It's
can't
not
do that after 30.
Yeah.
But I'm creative director, so my job is literally to walk around and check in what everyone's doing most of the time. So
Totally.
I designed my role around what I love to do, and that's to interact with
Well,
everyone.
you're shepherding. You're using your experience, and you're shepherding and trying to get this thing going forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have so many, like Zoe's saying, our team is so talented right now. Like, it's really a great combination of all the parts that it's, they just do so much great work. I can just help shape it a bit, and that's awesome, so.
So 13 years at Hellbent.
Yeah.
You're in your 13th year. You're months away from.
teenagers now.
You're teenagers. You're about to announce your next game, which is probably rated T.
It is rated T, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my guess.
It's got some scary tones and some action tones, and it's multiplayer, but it's really cool. We love our own game. We play our game every day. We actually have a lottery to see who gets in to play the game because everyone's dying to play our own game. It's sort of
Is it a
conceited to
battle
say.
royale game?
No.
It's so
It's,
conceited.
it sounds
not a
conceited to say that
battle
we want. If you have 5 players, it can't really be a battle royale. I'm saying too much now. But, it's
5-person battle royale.
It's a really amazing experience.
Groundbreaking.
Everyone builds stuff all day long, jams it into the game. We play it every day and have a ton of fun. We laugh, we scream. It's a fantastic.
Does it feel that your company has been building to this?
In the last
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
years, for sure, this has been what we've been trying to go, and the trajectory's been a little bumpy at times, but we are doing amazing right now, and it's a really fantastic project. It's my dream project, so it's been really great working on this. So yeah,
That is awesome. So you'll have to come back when it's just about to
Yes.
launch. You'll
Yeah,
walk
for
us
sure.
through it. We'll get some people up on stage and
Yeah.
we'll play it.
We'd love
Is
to
it
do that.
5-player co-op? Can't answer that. All right. Okay.
I'll give you that much.
Let's see if I got like 1 or 2 more questions. Question: did reviewing all those games help with any insight into your current work? Do you ever take a step back and review the work as if you were a reviewer? I guess that
Oh my
question is
goodness.
for you.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a huge part. And when I originally got hired at Slant 6, that was a big thing that they brought me in to do, right? Because they were like,
They
you
need
know,
perspective. I
they
find
really,
that
you
when
do.
I-
You get so close
Yes.
to what you're doing, and we do this all the time, right?
Well, I think if you're making a game, and I think this would be true for a movie or whatever, like who wants, if you're working so hard and you're building something all day and then you want to go back and look at a screen again, I think you want to get away from that stuff for the most part, right? I mean, I see you guys on Facebook, you're always outside.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty much what we do.
right?
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
escape from the screen life.
Yeah.
And I think that's why analysis is so important, some outside sort of observation on that, and why that's a valuable asset in a team.
Definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I always go back to, is always taking that step back and saying, like, how would I have approached this as a reviewer? And it's funny now because I see that my old friends, and a lot of them have moved into that as a full-time
Yes.
Yeah, we just had we had a
consultancy,
group come
and
to
they
our
just
office.
came to us, and I was on the other side of that table. It was
Yeah, they came and
really
did
quite
the
funny.
evaluation of our game before it's even out, just to sort of see. And that was really interesting to see Zoe's take on other people coming and doing what she did really well for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So, it's-
Yeah, I'm of two minds of that, because I feel like we've lost a lot of really good reporting and
Yes.
analysis on the media side to people that want to go and make real money somewhere else. And I feel like that's a shame, because I feel like that criticism is an important element of there, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
But I also see the value of trying to get to this stuff before it ships as well, right? And that's what I hear from my friends that are doing that kind of thing. This is a great question. Northern Sequence, what is your favorite memory of your time on EP?
Oh, I'm so bad with answers. My kids always ask me about favorites.
Oh,
I couldn't-
yeah.
Favorite. Probably some of the more embarrassing things, I think, that stick out in my mind. Like, I was such a crazy Metal Gear Solid fan. And
You were
I
such a-
ended up in
I
an
don't think that
elevator with
ended.
Kojima and just made a total ass out of myself. That's a great memory.
We both met David Hayter, who was just on
Yeah,
the show at
yeah.
the same time at his house, which was
Yeah.
very strange and weird. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a good memory. Some
Lot-
of the first season memories of traveling too. We had no money
No.
and used to play guitar in the back of the van.
That's
and
right, yeah.
Why were we in a van? Who had a van?
We'd rent a van.
Oh.
This is like the beginning stages, but we didn't have travel
Scooby-Doo.
budgets. Yeah, and we'd stay in one or two
guys had to
hotel rooms, and there would be a whole bunch of us, and we would just visit companies all the way up and down the coast. You know, we were Canadian television. We didn't have a
If
big
we'd
budget.
been smart, we could have done a second show about like dive hotels
Yes.
at the same time,
Oh,
like
yeah.
very Anthony
we could have
Bourdain
invented
style. and-
vlogging. There's-
We could have done a
we
lot
could
of
have invented
things.
YouTube. We actually had video on our website in 1995.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. It would take forever for people to be able to download it, but it was nuts. Okay.
Yeah, I could go on with memories. Yeah.
yeah, this-
Tokyo,
this
like,
is
there's
awesome.
So many good.
Well, I love that you guys are here. We could definitely keep talking, but I think what we want to do is we want to keep you wanting more, and we want you guys to come back.
Yeah, we'll come back right away for sure. I mean,
Yeah?
You'll be
Okay.
our first stop.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
You've got that on.
Thank you to Zoe
know,
and
yeah.
Chris
Thanks, Rick.
from Hellbent Games.